How a single radio show can transform an entire community? In Melbourne, one program reaches thousands of listeners, connects taxi drivers across the city, and even bridges continents. Today, we're exploring how 3CR's Somali language show is revolutionizing community radio and creating lasting impact in Australia.
You know, it's really fascinating how this show has become such a powerful force in Melbourne's Somali community.
Let's start with some context. How did this all begin?
Well, the first Somali community in Victoria was actually established in 1988, but the real story begins in the early 1990s when civil war broke out in Somalia.
That must have been a challenging time for the community.
Absolutely. Between 1991 and 2000, about 1,686 Somali-born people settled in Victoria. Many came as refugees, not just from Somalia, but from surrounding countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, and Egypt.
And how did the radio show come into play?
It's actually quite interesting. The show was started by Abdiaziz about 30 years ago, and back then, they used a shortwave radio that could still receive the BBC signal for its Somali program.
Wait, they were literally picking up BBC signals from across the world?
Yeah, that's how they got news from back home. But things have changed dramatically since then.
How so?
Well, now the current host, Hamdi Ali, has completely transformed the show. He's known as the man with many hats because of his involvement in various community organizations.
Tell us more about Hamdi's approach.
He noticed that many in the Somali community didn't fully understand Australia's democratic system and media debates, so he decided to focus on explaining current issues and Australian politics.
That's quite a shift from just reporting news from Somalia.
Exactly. As Hamdi puts it, there is a need to understand what's happening in your neighbourhood, whether that neighbourhood is the whole of Victoria or even Australia.
And how has the community responded to this local focus?
The response has been incredible. Over 5,000 listeners tune in regularly, and the show has this amazing talkback segment where people call in from all over Melbourne.
I heard something interesting about taxi drivers.
Oh, yes. Many listeners call Hamdi directly on his mobile during their taxi or Uber driving shifts. It's created this incredible mobile community network.
That's fascinating. It's like the show is literally moving through the city with its listeners.
And it's not just about news and politics. The show covers crucial community issues like strengthening unity, addressing cultural challenges faced by young Somalis, and tackling problems like drug use.
Speaking of the community, can you give us a sense of its size in Victoria?
According to recent data, there are 10,019 people in Victoria who have Somalian ancestry, with 4,291 born in Somalia. It's one of the largest Somali communities in Australia.
And it's quite a young community, right?
Yes, the largest age groups are 0-14 years at 34.5% and 15-24 years at 24.2%. This young demographic makes the show's role in cultural preservation even more crucial.
How has technology changed the way the show operates?
Well, last year they started using TikTok, which has allowed them to engage with the Somali community overseas. People now dial in on air to chat about current events from around the world.
That's quite a journey from shortwave radio to TikTok.
It really is. And what's interesting is that social media has actually changed the show's focus. Now people can get news from back home instantly, so the show can concentrate more on local issues.
Let's talk about the language aspect. The Somali language itself has quite a reach, doesn't it?
Yes, Somali is spoken by around 20 million people, not just in Somalia, but also in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. It's a unique and ancient language with a rich history.
And the show helps preserve this language in Australia?
Absolutely. It's not just about language preservation, though. The show helps explain complex topics like the role of the Governor-General or the process of calling a federal election in a way that's accessible to the community.
That's really important for civic participation.
And it's working. The show has become this bridge between cultures, helping people understand both their new home and maintain connections to their heritage.
What about the timing of the show? I understand it recently changed.
Yes, they moved to a new time slot every Tuesday from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. It was specifically chosen to better connect with their audience.
And how does the show handle the diversity within the Somali community itself?
That's actually one of the most interesting aspects. As Hamdi explains, the community is a monoculture, pretty much one color, one religion, one area, one language, but at the same time it's very diverse.
Can you explain that paradox?
Well, the community has origins in 4 East African countries: Ethiopia, Djibouti, Kenya, and Somalia. The show makes sure to cover news from all these cohorts.
So it's about Somali culture rather than just Somalia, the country?
Exactly. As Hamdi puts it, it's about Somali language and Somali people, rather than the Somali Republic.
How has the show adapted to serve different generations within the community?
They've really focused on making content relevant to both older and younger listeners. For example, they'll cover traditional cultural topics alongside discussions about youth issues and integration challenges.
And what about the impact on women in the community?
The show actively addresses women's issues and has a good gender balance in its listenership. The Somali community in Victoria is actually 52.4% female and 47.6% male.
Looking to the future, what challenges does the show face?
One of the main challenges is keeping up with changing media consumption habits, especially among younger listeners. That's why they're expanding into digital platforms.
But radio still plays a crucial role?
Absolutely. Radio remains an incredibly accessible medium, especially for older community members who might not be as comfortable with digital platforms.
What would you say is the show's biggest achievement?
I think it's how they've managed to shift from being just a news source to becoming a vital community institution that helps people navigate life in Australia while maintaining their cultural identity.
That's quite an evolution.
And it shows in the engagement. When you have taxi drivers calling in during their shifts and people dialing in from overseas, you know you're doing something right.
As we wrap up, what's the key lesson other community radio programs could learn from the Somali language show?
I think it's about understanding that community radio isn't just about broadcasting, it's about building bridges, preserving culture, and helping people thrive in their new home.
And they've certainly succeeded at that. They really have. From shortwave radio signals to TikTok, they've shown that adapting to change while staying true to your community's needs is the key to success. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Co-Pilot Podcasts. From the streets of Melbourne to the digital world, the Somali language show proves that radio isn't just about broadcasting, it's about building community, one voice at a time.